Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into playoff Saturday at the 2023 Everest Canadian Senior Men's and Women's Curling Championships. My name's Al Cameron, and it's semifinals here at the Vernon Curling Club, and we will be featuring a women's semi between Team Alberta and Team Ontario. Both of these teams finished with 7-3 records, and in fact, they were part of a three-way tie at 7-3 for the final three playoff spots. The teams were 1-1 against each other within that tied group, and based on last shot draw distance, Ontario finished second, Alberta finished third, BC finished fourth. BC will be playing Saskatchewan in the other semifinal. So our semi does feature Team Ontario, the Susan Froud team from Alliston, taking on Team Alberta, skipped by Atina Ford-Johnson. We'll take a quick look at the lineups for both of these teams. Team Ontario, as mentioned, the skip is Susan Froud. The vice skip is Carrie Lackey. The second is Kristen Turcott. The lead, Julie McMullen. And the coach is Al Corbell, and they play out of the Alliston Curling Club. Team Alberta, the skip, Atina Ford-Johnson. The vice skip is Shannon Morris. The second, Sherry Pickering. The lead is Corey Morris. And they're representing four different clubs in Alberta: the Okotoks, Irricana, Calgary, and Sherwood Park Curling Clubs. As mentioned, both these teams had 7-3 records. It was Alberta that won the head-to-head round-robin game on Thursday night, but it is Ontario with last shot. They had to do a draw to the button to determine last draw. It's one of those rulebook quirks that when ties are broken for playoff spots using last shot draw, the head-to-head encounter does not determine hammer. It did give Ontario choice of rock color, and they were given the opportunity to practice second, and they did win the draw to the button. So that gave them last rock advantage here in this first end. Expect a low-scoring game based on their head-to-head game. It was a 4-3 Alberta win on Thursday night. Alberta stealing the winning point in the last end. And in fact, they needed a great shot from Atina Ford-Johnson in the eighth end, drawing to the side of the button just to get one to force the extra. And then in the extra, it was a little bit of a mess for Ontario, and Susan Froud had to play a run back on partially frozen rocks for the win. Missed the shot, and Alberta stole that victory. And there are four semifinals on the ice here, the men's and women's semifinals. As mentioned, Team Alberta playing Ontario in one women's semi. It is first place Saskatchewan, skipped by, just watching this shot come to a rest here, but it's Saskatchewan, Nancy Martin's team from Martinsville. They are taking on the BC team, skipped by Diane Gushlak from New Westminster in the other women's semi. And the two men's semifinals, it is first place Nova Scotia, skipped by Paul Fleming, playing New Brunswick, skipped by Grant Odeshaw, and it is Saskatchewan, Bruce Cordy's team from Saskatoon, taking on Dave Bomer's Manitoba champs from Petersfield. So the winners of these semifinals will play for gold. The losers will play for bronze. And the men's gold medal and bronze medal games will take place at 12:30 p.m. Pacific. That's 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And the women's gold medal and bronze medal games will be started at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. And of course, you can watch all the action right here on Curling Canada Plus. Pretty open end early on here for this Alberta-Ontario semifinal. Center guard up for Alberta. They'll try and see if they can wrap one around. Sherry Pickering making this attempt. Looks like it's going to slide a little deep. Kristen Turcott will be asked to remove that short center guard and roll over for a corner. Don't know that they're going to be able to hold the shooter. Might spin onto the rings, though. just hangs outside the circle. So Alberta sitting shot stone at the back 12, and a chance here early to maybe generate a force of Ontario. Sherry Pickering, of course, this Alberta team has lots and lots of historical bloodlines. Sherry Pickering, the daughter of the legendary Pee Wee Pickering, numerous Saskatchewan men's championships, but of course most know him for that legendary massive backswing. And there's Olympic pedigree as well on this Alberta team. Atina Ford-Johnson was the alternate for Sandra Schmerler's team that won gold in 1998 at Nagano, Japan. She was also the alternate for the team that won the gold at the World Championship the year before in 1997, and her mother, Anita, was the coach of those teams. Gonna have to sweep hard to get a piece here. Will it roll out? Just enough. Just completing that thought on the Olympic angles for this Team Alberta. Corey Morris, the lead. You may have remembered her as Corey Bartle, who was the lead for Cheryl Bernard's silver medal winning team from the 2010 Winter Games in Vancouver. Now Shannon Morris will draw to sit 2 in the rings for Alberta. They would love to be able to force Ontario to take a single point here in this first end. That'd be a great start for Alberta. All that said, we'd have to remind you, Susan Froud, a previous televised game that we were showing with her, made a run triple for the blank in the first end. So she can get out of trouble when she needs to. She can certainly throw the hard one to get out of trouble. And Carrie Lackey, chance to make the double here and perhaps end this threat and see if Ontario could perhaps work towards a blank here and carry the hammer into the second end. Justin Turcotte trying to hold the line. They're going to have to really work on this for a piece. Will that get out of the circles? It will not. So Alberta now sitting 2 and a chance to get another one in there. Just an overcurl there by Ontario. It's a couple in a row, so this ice is definitely moving, which should not come as a surprise at this stage in the week. This is the 7th day of competition here at the Vernon Curling Club, and this ice has been superb. Fast, swingy, goes both ways. You can go to the outside, you can curl to the inside, and very release sensitive, and that's really what you ask for championship ice. Mike Merklinger, the chief ice technician for this championship. These are club rocks, but they were sandpapered before the event, so they've got some bite to them. So now Alberta sitting 3 here in this first end. It is Ontario with last rock advantage. Trying to see if they can roll over or maybe create a jam possibility. Double was not really called for there. So it is Ontario sitting 1. Now Atina Johnston. Skip. And the same principle applies here. They are sitting those 2 at the back, but definitely a possibility that if she overcurls this even a tiny bit, it would be a problem. Atina Ford-Johnson now with her first shot here in the first end. Jerry Pickering working on it, and that's a good throw to start the game for Atina. Alberta sitting 3. Susan Froud now. See what she can do here. She just wants to put her shooter. I mean, obviously the main priority is to be shot rock after this, but I'd like to maybe move that shooter into a spot that creates the possibility for a jam when Tina Johnson, Tina Ford Johnson, plays her last. Kristen Turcotte hard at work on this. Do not want to go across the face. There is the jam, but it is a double takeout. It works out okay. But pretty simple task here now for Tina Ford Johnson. Just make contact, remove that yellow stone, hold the shooter. You should be in good condition to get a force here in the first end. As we said, it was a low-scoring game when these teams played each other Thursday night. Nothing but single points in a 4-3 victory for Team Alberta. And as we told you, the winning point was stolen in the extra end. It's looking nice and smooth, and taking a long look at that to see if would they ever consider playing for the double here. I don't know if it's a risk worth taking. They will not take it on, and Susan Froud will just need to bite the 8-foot, good chunk of the 12 to get the single point. Final shot here in this first end. Susan Froud. Threw the shot a number of times in practice, so no surprise that she will put it on the button. So it will be a single point for Ontario. Alberta will have hammer when we come back after this. Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the second end of this women's semifinal between Team Alberta, Team Ontario, a pair of 7-3 teams looking to qualify for the gold medal game that will take place here at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You'll be able to watch that gold medal game on TSN Plus, as well as right here on Curling Canada Plus. Corey Morris. She works as a talent acquisition partner, which is AKA a recruiter for ATB Financial. Obviously, we talked about her Olympic background. She's got some famous family members now as well. Her husband, Sean Morris, is a former World Junior Men's Champion. Mother-in-law, Carolyn Morris, is a two-time World Senior Women's Champion. What's unique about that, too, is she's won it for two different countries. She skipped Team Scotland to the victory in 2005. She was living there while her husband was working in Scotland in the oil and gas industry, and then came back home a few years later and was a member of Kathy King's team that won the 2013 World Championship at Fredericton. Looking like another open end here. Rock in the ring and gonna play open hits. This will be Corey again. And one other famous family member for Corey is, of course, her brother-in-law, Tom Brewster, longtime Scottish curling star. Not sure we're gonna be able... Oh, that was a burn. Collided with Shannon Morris's foot. Now, they'll be talking it out to see if that rock would have gone out of the rings. I think that is Susan Froud's call, and yes, I agree with that. I think that rock was going out. So it is an open house here for Kristen Turcotte. Kristen is a registered nurse. She predominantly has worked in the ICU and recovery rooms. She's recently retired from full-time work, but still puts in a few casual shifts. And that'll just end up just back button, I think. This is staying true to form, the way these teams played Thursday night. Neither one really willing to go all out on offense quite yet. I'm sure they'll pick their spots. That's going to overcurl. Will it take it out? It will. Sherry Pickering does manage to get that shot stone off the rings, but the shooter is rolled out. So now Kristen Turcotte will get a chance to throw a draw. Mentioned those World Senior Championships. Of course, the winning teams in those gold medal games later today, they will get the chance to represent Canada at the World Senior Championships. That'll take place in April in Östersund, Sweden. Those Senior Worlds will run concurrently with the World Mixed Doubles Championship. Now Carrie Lackey will play the open hit. chance to just kind of get that confidence up over the early ends here and see if they can get a sense of how this ice is working. I don't see too many major changes, though. It's been consistently fast, consistently swingy. There was a one little glitch in the ice, let's say Wednesday morning, I believe it was, and they lost the plant here. It just died in the middle of a game in the morning game. But the city of Vernon came out and fixed it up in a hurry, and the only effect it really had that morning is the ice got, believe it or not, slippery, even more slippery than usual, and super fast too. It's been, for those who know about this sort of stuff, 15 to 15 and a half seconds from hog to hog to get to the tee line, and that's very fast ice. But they were adding another second to that. It was in that 16 and a half range, and it got a little scary out there. But they were able to fix it. It got back to normal by Wednesday night, and it's been consistent ever since then. So players have been raving about the ice conditions here all week. So we're just going to see which team blinks first here. Can't understate the importance of patience, and both of these teams have shown themselves to be patient. Look at the defensive statistics here for this Everest Canadian Senior Curling Championships. And you see a team like Saskatchewan, Nancy Martin's team, had the best defense in the event. They allowed only just average 3.55 points against per game. But both of these teams, Alberta and Ontario, were right next to them. Alberta gave up an average of 4 a game. Ontario gave up an average of 3.82 a game. So both of these teams can certainly shut an opponent down. So another looming blank, it would appear, or an open end, and Susan Froud will have the blank attempt coming up. She forced to the single in the first, and Tina Ford Johnson's looking like she'll have the blank attempt coming up. Is Alberta with last rock here in the second end. Reminder that all 4 sheets that are showing semifinals here this morning, you can watch them all on Curling Canada Plus. Take your pick of games as we whittle things down to determine who will play for gold and who will play for bronze later today. Alberta looking to win its first Canadian Senior Women's Championship since 2015. Terry Loblaw's team from the North Hill Club in Calgary was able to come out and top that year. The event was played at the Thistle Club in Edmonton. Ontario hasn't won a Canadian Senior Women's Championship since 2006. Ann Dunn's team was the winner that year at Summerside PEI. come to rest in the house, and it will be a blank attempt here for Tina Ford Johnston. She'll play her intern, clockwise rotation. An attempt to get double zeros on the board, and Alberta will take last stone advantage into the third end. She's got to make this one first, and we have seen it on occasion. But, the blank attempts have not gone according to plan. Final shot, second end. Sherry Pickering, Corey Morris on the suit. Now they're trying to get it to move a little bit. That should be all right. And there it is, the blank, double zeros on the board. Alberta will come back with hammer, trailing 1-0 after this. Head into the third end here of this featured game, the women's semifinal. I wonder if just now we saw a little change in strategy here for Ontario. Initially, the call was to bring it into the rings by Susan Froud for her lead. But then Julie McMullen was asked, maybe let's go short of the rings. Maybe we'll see some offense here in this third end. Julie's been a bronze medalist at the last two Canadian seniors, but playing out of Nova Scotia. She was living there for a time and then came back to Ontario. Won those bronze medals playing with Teresa Breen's team in 2021 and 2022. But prior to that, she was a member of two Ontario champions at the Canadian seniors, finished fourth in 2016, lost the final in 2017 on Joanne Rizzo's team. That rock does come into the rings, and Alberta does make the hit. And stop me if you've heard this one. Looks like it's going to be an open hit for Julie. Julie's a professor of sociology at Western University in London, Ontario. Also a board member of the Sandra Schmirler Foundation. Working to keep that on line, see if they can hold the shooter. Should stay in, it will. And Alberta will not take any chances either. Corey Morris will be asked to play the hit. Three members of this Alberta team really do have significant Saskatchewan roots. Corey's from Lanigan, Saskatchewan. Tina from Regina, and of course, Sherry Pickering's Saskatchewan roots are well known as well. All playing out of Alberta now. Corey Morris does make that hit. Kristen Turcotte will play the hit. That will roll out. Now we'll see if Alberta tries perhaps put up a guard. Nope. Bring it into the rings is the call for Sherry Pickering. One thing I can guarantee you is neither one of these teams will be in any kind of time trouble. Pretty basic stuff early on, but again, so much on the line here in the semifinals. The team wanting to take a risk early. A chance to wear a Canadian jacket does not come along very often. Speaking with Tina Ford Johnson about it yesterday, as mentioned, she's done it on a couple of occasions as an alternate. 1997 at the World Championship, 1998 at the Olympics. And even though these players are at the, and I put air quotes around this, later stages of their career, they know how special it would be to play as Team Canada at a World Championship. You think about how many curlers there have been in Canada over the years, and how many of them, such a small fraction of the Canadian curling community that has had a chance to put a maple leaf on their back. It's meaningful. It doesn't matter what competition you're in, it's meaningful. And that's what's on the line here in Vernon today. So that stone did roll out the back for Alberta, and now we get the first guard. And here we go. Sherry Pickering is going to be asked to draw around that guard. First little bit of offense that's being tried out here in this women's semifinal. Corey Morris, Shannon Morris. No, they're not related. Share the same last name on the sweep, and that's a nice shot by Sherry Pickering. Dead buried. Sherry Lackey now, the vice skip for Team Ontario. He has to see if she can play a corner freeze to that. Carey won the Canadian Curling Club Championship in 2014, skipping Ontario. And also was a member of that 2017 Canadian seniors team that finished second at the Senior Nationals. Joanne Rizzo's team lost to Sherry Anderson, and that was the first 5 consecutive Canadian championships for Team Sherry Anderson out of Saskatoon. That's a good shot there by Carey. Just maybe a foot and a half short, but certainly usable. Looking to protect that shot stone at the top 4. Pickering and Morris, that rock is definitely hanging out deep. Maybe they'll try and take it around now. Take it to the back. Do not want to leave the double. They will sweep it deep in the house. It'll come to a rest for second shot, but wide open. But still, it is Alberta. And bigger problem for Ontario is that Alberta shot stone that is dead buried at the top 4 foot. So Ontario will make a play on that open Alberta stone, the second shot. That will roll away. And it still is Alberta sitting shot stone. Nose hit on that back stone certainly will leave Alberta sitting two. Let's see if they can get the roll. Shannon Morris. Of course, many of you inside curling circles, particularly in Alberta, will be familiar with that Morris family. Her dad, of course, is Terry, a longtime co-worker of mine at Curling Canada, successful event manager for so many Curling Canada Season of Champions events over the years. And Carolyn, her mother that worked for the Northern Alberta Curling Association, was just really Edmonton curling personified, the Morris family. Now that one is going to slide by. A bit of a miss there. Still Alberta sitting one, but now does Ontario have a chance? See if they can even get closer to the button and be buried. We do know it'll move. Lots and lots of swing in this ice. Susan Froud will see if she can take advantage of it. Susan is a senior technical advisor in environmental practice for Atkins Realis, formerly known as SNC Lavalin. Coach Al Corbell for this Ontario team happens to be Susan's husband. That's hanging out there. I don't know if it'll finish enough. They'll try and drag it in see if they can get a piece buried, but that is going to go to the back four and be all exposed for Atina Ford Johnston. So the hit and roll over on top of that other Ontario stone appears to be the preferred call here for Alberta. I don't think they want to try the inside roll because that would give Ontario something to draw to. So definitely roll away from the center line is the key here. Have a chance to keep that deuce intact. First shot here in this third end for Atina Ford Johnston. Counterclockwise rotation, her out turn. They do not want this to roll inside. They do need to get a bye. Looks like it'll be on the nose. That's possibly a good opportunity for Ontario. They could freeze to it. They could play the hit, roll inside themselves. Be in good shape for a steal here. And it's those half shots that make all the difference in the success of teams. That shot needed to roll away, and because it gives Ontario the bit of an out here. Looks like they will play the hit here. See if they can get a little inside roll. And that would make life awfully difficult for Atina Ford Johnston for her final shot. Ontario being forced to one in the first end. Alberta looked to be having this deuce in great shape. After Sherry Pickering's draw that has not moved at the top 4. Now, is there an escape clause available for Susan Froud? It's hanging out. I don't know if they'll be able to get the inside roll. And that is going to roll away and out of the circle. So it will be an opportunity for Alberta to score 2 here. They just need to touch the 4-foot. Full 8 will get the job done. A chance to score the game's first deuce. Set up that Ontario guard and a Sherry Pickering draw. A few shots later, here we are with a Tina Ford Johnson needing to make this draw. Full 8 to score 2. It's in the hands now of Sherry Pickering and Corey Morris. Just keeping this clean. They like the weight. It's not going to stop in time. Sure it will. So it will be a deuce for Team Alberta. They take a 2-1 lead. Ontario will have hammer when we come back after this. Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the 4th end of this women's semifinal game between Ontario and Alberta. Give you a quick look at the other scores on the ice here at the Vernon Curling Club. Semifinals in action, men's and women's. The other women's semi, it is Team Saskatchewan. Nancy Martin, they finished first in the round robin. They're taking on 4th place British Columbia, skipped by Diane Gushlak, and it's an early 1-0 lead for Saskatchewan. They do have an end brewing here. They're sitting 3 right now on Skip's Rocks. We'll update you when that score is posted from the 3rd end. But right now it is 1-0 Saskatchewan. BC has hammer here in the 3rd end. The men's semifinals. New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. Battle of Atlantic Canada. First place Nova Scotia opens with 3 in the 1st end. New Brunswick, though, comes back with 2 in the 2nd. Scotia skipped by Paul Fleming, and the New Brunswick team skipped by Grant Odeshaw. It's a 3-2 lead for Nova Scotia. 2 teams that know each other very well. It is Nova Scotia with Last Rock in the 3rd end. And the other semi, Team Saskatchewan, Team Manitoba. The Bruce Cordy team from Saskatoon opens with a steal of 2 in the 1st against Dave Bomer's team from Petersfield, Manitoba. It's a blank 2nd. And Manitoba has hammer in the 3rd. A reminder, all the scores all the time, you can get them on curling.ca/scoreboard. Curling.ca/scoreboard. And of course, all 4 of those games being televised right here on Curling Canada Plus in conjunction with our great partners at Curling Stadium. And you can also see action on TSN Plus as well. So lots of ways to watch and keep track of the 2023 Everest Canadian Seniors here in Vernon. Our featured game, it is Alberta coming off a deuce in that 3rd end. Once again, we're back to mostly in the house stones and some hits. And again, this is kind of the game plan, the way it worked out the other night when Ontario and Alberta played. And Alberta won a low-scoring game 4-3 in an extra end, stole the winning point in the 9th end. Case certainly of both teams wanting to play to their strengths. I believe this is the style that will suit them best. Roll out, and here's is that going to stop in time? They're hoping that'll stop short of the rings, but it will come in. The call was for the corner guard. It does come in, and Alberta just is not wanting to allow too much build-up in that house. They'll certainly take advantage if there's a guard, but clearly the game plan is to keep things clean and tidy. That will roll across the rings and out. There's the corner guard call for Kristen Turcotte. Kristen's husband, Bob, he's a three-time Canadian senior men's champion, playing out of Ontario, and they combined as well, Kristen and Bob. They played in the 2007 Canadian Mixed Curling Championship. Lost the gold medal game to Alberta. And honestly, one of the worst picks I've ever seen. Bob Turcotte had a chance on his last stone in that game against Alberta. Team skipped by Dean Ross, with Olympian Susan O'Connor playing third. There's a rock at the back of the button. Bob Turcotte was looking to freeze to it, and you would not have gotten it out with a stick of dynamite. But Bob's last rock caught some debris, and Alberta did not need to throw its last rock and won that championship. That was notable also because that was the first year that Canada was going to send a team to the World Mixed Doubles Championship, and Curling Canada did not have any kind of a Canadian Mixed Doubles Championship at that point, so it was determined that the winning team, the Canadian four-player mixed, would decide two players to go to the World Mixed Doubles. So there was lots on the line at that Calgary Canadian Mixed. So Team Alberta does draw to the open side. They didn't want to mess with that corner guard, and it will be Ontario that looks to get around it. Kristen Turcotte trying to make this draw and get some offense building for Ontario as last rock here in this fourth end, and that's a great draw by Kristen Turcotte around the corner. Alberta's sitting second shot here, and Atina Ford-Johnson will ask Shannon Morris to remove that corner guard. Shannon Morris just having a little bit of trouble with those hits. She flashed one last end as well and misses that corner guard. Now let's see what Ontario can do. Suddenly, Carrie Lackey can get around. A couple of options here. They looked at drawing around another one, but looks like the open hit may be the call. Both options on the table. I feel like going around that corner guard, that gives you a look at three in this end. That will be the call. Quick update on those scores. Saskatchewan team Nancy Martin has stolen one in the third end. They now take a 2-0 lead, and another steal for Team Saskatchewan. The men's team, Bruce Cordy, steals two in the third. They take a 4-0 lead on Manitoba in that men's semi. So the come around is called here for Carrie Lackey. Like to get this fully buried. They do not want to leave a double for Alberta. It's going to be wide now. Where's it at for weight? Will it stay in? It will not. Opportunity lost there for Ontario. Let's see if Shannon Morris can take advantage of this second opportunity to remove that corner guard. Trying to peel this off. I do prefer not to leave that blue stone over there, and it will roll over. Will it actually roll onto the rings? It does. Boy, that's a great shot by Shannon Morris. Nice way to come back. It is Ontario's sitting shot. Now, does Ontario look at coming around those two blue stones? They will not. Might have been interesting if they'd snuck one in behind those two staggered Alberta stones. But it will be the hit called for Kerry Lackey. Kerry's a transfusion medicine senior technologist at the Grand River Hospital in Kitchener. It's going to overcurl and take the top Alberta stone out and then roll over. Rolls, makes contact with their shot stone, so it is still Alberta sitting shot rock. Two Ontario stones over there on the wings. Might be a shot at a double here for Tina Ford Johnston. Might be a little bit of an opportunity that slips away from Ontario. They had the corner guard up and one buried behind it. Now, a few minutes later, there's a chance for Alberta to get out of this end. Been a great week here in Vernon. Special thanks to our great sponsors and partners at Everest Funeral Concierge. They've done a wonderful job treating us and these players so very well here in Vernon. It's been a great week here in the North Okanagan. Does she have the double here? Are going to be able to roll that out? I don't think so. And now that ends up buried behind Alberta's stone. Big break there for Ontario. Kind of caught in the middle on the sweep call there. They were hoping that it would cross the face slightly, but it hung out. And suddenly, the deuce is back alive for Ontario. Susan Froud looking to draw open side, split the rings. Susan played in a couple of the Canada Cups, the early editions of the Canada Cups in Kamloops, just up the road from here. With Marilyn Moto in one of them, and then with Ann Merkliger in another. Chance to sit two here for Ontario. I'd like to even these rocks up, and boy, that's perfect. Very nice. Couple options here for Alberta. I don't know that they want to get too fancy here. I think playing the hit here, concede the deuce. Susan Froud still has to make the shot, but Tina may be briefly considered corner freezing onto that that buried Ontario stone, but as I said, it was a brief consideration. This is probably the smart call. Play the hit. Give Ontario the chance at two and no more. Tina Ford Johnson, her final shot here in this fourth end. That made a sudden move. I'd like to hold the shooter, but they will not. It will roll out. And now, just a good chunk of the 8-foot will get a second point for Ontario, which is a good answer back after giving up the deuce in the third. Susan Froud, her final shot here in this fourth end. Good place to be, just needing a chunk of the 8-foot. That will get them a second point. Just an unfortunate the double that was taken on by Tina Ford Johnson and left that Ontario stone dead buried behind that top Alberta stone. And Kristen dragging this into the 4-foot, and it will be a deuce for Ontario. They will take a 3-2 lead. Alberta will have hammer when we come back. Teams will take a fourth end break. We will too. We'll be back in a few minutes to the Vernon Curling. Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the second half of this morning's women's semifinal between Alberta and Ontario. Winner going to play for gold and silver. The loser will play for bronze. Those women's medal games will take place at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. You can watch right here on Curling Canada Plus. And it is a deuce for Ontario in that fourth end, following on the deuce from Alberta in the third. And it is a 3-2 lead for Ontario. And this game has been pretty much what we expected, pretty close to the vest. Very well played game between these two teams that were among the best all week here at the Vernon Curling Club. We'll see how this second half plays out. A reminder that it was Alberta winning 4-3 in an extra end when these teams met in the round robin. That was Thursday night. Apparently it is. They both agreed that it is on the rings. Maybe it isn't, because it's appearing that Ontario is going to try and go around. Kristen Turcotte will be asked for the draw around that short center guard. Maybe it's touching, maybe it's not. We'll see if that becomes a factor later in the end, but it is a draw around called for Kristen Turcotte. Sweeper's not touching this. Will it stay in? I think it will stay in. Well, maybe not. Boy, there's an example of this. Ice is soaking. Does hang as a biter at the back. Now a chance for a split here for Alberta. Sit two, one behind the guard. Just T-line weight is the call for Sherry Pickering. Big opportunity for Alberta to put some early pressure on here in this fifth end. That's going to have to curl a ways. They might be now trying to see if they can get around it. Nope. Sweeping for some curl. That stone will go to the back 8, but it is Alberta sitting 2. They would have liked to have just gotten a little more contact on that and get one behind the corner guard, but does get the job done. Alberta sitting a couple. Kristen Turcotte will be asked to remove the shot stone, which is in the 8 foot there. Right on the nose. Good shot. Tina Ford Johnson's just going to make sure that the Alberta stone is second. I do believe it is. So the open hit here would leave Alberta sitting a couple. Talked about that women's gold and bronze medal games. They'll take place at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. The men's gold and bronze medal games, they are scheduled for 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Again, all the action on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. Want to hold that shooter, and it will roll out. So a little bit of an opportunity that gets away from Alberta. Now, Ontario, they come around, try and generate the steal, or will they? Yes, they'll play the hit. I think that's the right call. Roll the shooter onto the rings, sit a couple. Carrie Lackey now. Makes the hit and stick, and now Ontario sitting 2. So the hit will be called here for Shannon Morris. I'd like to see if they can roll it to the center here. Just bring the play a little closer to center and see if they can get that corner guard in play, but it'll be right on the nose. It still is shot. Carrie Lackey will play the hit. Needs to be on the circles here. Now, got to watch out for the jam here, too. See a Tina Johnson lining that up. Just curls enough. But it does roll out. Now this gives the opportunity to Alberta to use their corner guard. Shannon Morris will be asked to see if she can tuck one in behind it. Corey Morris, Sherry Pickering working on this. Now they'll back off a little, see if they can Saw them switch positions there to try and get a little more curl on this. Might be a little bit light as well. Will it get there for shot rock? Boy, I don't know. But not really changing any kind of the decision process here for Ontario. They don't want that stone there. Susan Froud will play the hit. Roll the shooter onto the rings ideally and sit two. That would put themselves in the forced position. Depends on where this rolls into the rings. You wonder if Alberta might still take the chance and see if they can get one behind that center guard. Certainly depends on where this rolls to. And it looks like it will roll out. So once again, I think we'll see the draw behind the corner by Tina Ford Johnston. Skips rocks here in the fifth end in a 3-2 game. Ontario leading 3-2 in this women's semifinal. Alberta with hammer here in the fifth. Big opportunity here for Tina Ford Johnson if she can get one around that corner guard. Generate the old skips deuce. Sweeper's not touching this though. That may be through the back. See how far it gets. Susan Froud will take it right out. So opportunity that gets away from Alberta. Now Ontario will go around and give themselves the chance to force Alberta. That would be a great outcome if you're an Ontario curling fan. Susan Froud, her final shot here in the fifth end. Draw attempt. This needs to be half buried. And sitting in a spot that really just gives Alberta no other option other than the draw. I like to tighten the circles a little bit here too, of course. And that will end up at the side of the forefoot. I would like to get that maybe a little buried just to force the draw, but it will be a hit attempt here for Tina Ford Johnson. Last shot here, looking at a couple. So, assuming she makes this, it'll be in a 3-3 tie. Each team will have a deuce. Each team will have been forced to a single. Dead even, which you likely would have expected from two good curling teams that both finished with 7-3 records in the round robin and went to an extra end in their head-to-head game. So, not really surprised that this is a tight game here in the semifinal. That should be good. And it is a single point for Alberta. Ontario will have hammer in a 3-3 game when we come back after this. Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the sixth end of a tied game in this women's semifinal between Ontario and Alberta. Very close to the chest affair here. Neither team really going all out on offense. There's been occasional glimpses. They'll go around a guard, put up a guard, but for the most part, pretty low-key affair, but that's what you'd expect as the pressure gets higher here on the closing Saturday of the 2023 Everest Canadian Seniors. Corey Morris puts it on the top of the button. And Ontario will make the hit on it. Could have put up the corner, but that stone probably just considered a little too close to the button. Julie McMullen will be asked to play the hit and roll. Last Canadian Championship event of 2023. Of course, things will heat up as we head into the new year. The season of champions will get underway, or continue, pardon me, at Scotties Tournament of Hearts. That will take place at the Winsport Event Center in Calgary, February 16th to 25th. And a couple weeks later, March 1st to 10th, the 2024 Montana's Brier, presented by AGI, March 1st to 10th at the Brandt Center in Regina. And right after that, the Traveling Roadshow will continue in Sydney, Nova Scotia, Center 200, the 2024 BKT Tires World Women's Curling Championship. Season of Champions, all those events are selling extremely well. Tickets on sale at curling.ca/tickets. That's curling.ca/tickets. Great stocking stuffers as we are just a couple weeks or so away from the big day. Get your chance to see the world's best curlers under one roof during the Season of Champions. Of course, lots more to play for the rest of the season. Out of the Season of Champions, you got the Canadian Under-18 Championships, February 4th to 10th at the RA Center in the Hunt Club in Ottawa. Fredericton, New Brunswick, hosting the 2024 U Sports Canadian University Championships and the Canadian Colleges Athletic Association Championships. Those will take place March 12th to 16th in Fredericton. Sticking in Fredericton, the 2024 Canadian Mixed Doubles Championship will be March 17th to 22nd in Fredericton. Canadian Wheelchair Curling Championship, that is scheduled for March 22nd to 29th. The Moose Jaw Ford Curling Center. And the Canadian Championship season wraps up with the 2024 New Holland Canadian Under-21 Men's and Women's Championships that will take place March 24th to 31st in Fort McMurray, Wood Buffalo. Lots of great curling to look forward to the rest of this season. And another pretty wide open end here in this sixth end. I feel like both these teams would not going to be taking any risks with so much on the line here. You know, you talk about that Season of Champions too. Already announced events going forward. The 2025 Montana's Brier will take place just down the road here from Vernon. That will be taking place in Kelowna, Prospera Place. As we know, that city was supposed to host the 2021 Brier, but we all know what happened to those 2021 events. They were moved to the bubble in Calgary due to the pandemic. Also, we have in place the 2025 Scotties Tournament of Hearts will take place in Thunder Bay. And that hopefully will be the long-awaited chance for Thunder Bay to put on a normal Scotties. Obviously, they were supposed to host in 2021. That was moved into the bubble, and they were supposed to host in 2022, and Omicron had other ideas, so that event was played for the most part behind closed doors, no fans in the building. So 2025 Be a chance for Thunder Bay to really show the country what a Thunder Bay Scotties is all about. And we're expecting to make an announcement on the 2025 BKT World Men's Curling Championship in the next couple months. Hopefully things get sorted out there soon, but lots of great bids in for that event as well, and just a matter of deciding which one makes the most sense. And of course, the winning teams here, men's and women's gold medalists, will be on a plane to Östersund, Sweden in April to play at the World Seniors. And of course, the World Mixed Doubles will take place at the same time. Canada will be looking to defend its World Championships last spring, in Gangneung, South Korea. Canada's teams both won gold. Howard Rajala's team from Ottawa winning the men's gold. Sherry Anderson's team from Saskatoon winning the women's gold medal. There's a series of hits here in this sixth end. Carrie Lackey will play the hit and roll into the center. May roll out the back. Tina Ford Johnson will drag it out. So draw to the top four will be the call here for Shannon Morris. Mentioned their close game during the round robin as well. That was a 4-3 Alberta win, stolen point in the ninth. Tina Ford Johnson had to draw to the side of the button just to force the extra end in the eighth end. Had to make a great shot. And in the ninth, it's a little bit of a mess in the house, and Susan Froud had to make a really, really hard run back and was not able to make it. And Alberta did steal that win. You look back on it, as we've mentioned, Alberta likely does not qualify for the semifinals without that win. So nice roll there by Shannon Morris. Carrie Lackey will be asked to respond with a hit of her own. That will just hang on. That's a little bit of a scary spot here for Alberta. Way out in the wings. This isn't a shot that you throw a lot, if at all, during a practice. So a little bit of a guesswork here on where to put the broom. A little bit of a tester here for Tina Ford Johnston. Forced to the single in the fifth end. This has a little more importance than your standard hit, just based on the positioning of the rock. I'd like to get this on the nose. For Susan Froud to try the same shot, but it does roll into the center of the ring, so a little bit of the pressure is off for Ontario. Good shot by Tina Ford Johnson. That was a tricky one out there. All four of these teams will be back on the ice. All four of these teams in the women's semifinals will be back in the ice at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, in the gold and bronze medal games. So we'll have a little bit of a break. The men's gold and bronze medal games will take place at 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. It looks like it's going to roll out. Give you a little bit of advance warning that just based on the tight time frame between the two medal round games, 12:30 and 3:30, if one of those 12:30 games goes into an extra end, there may be a slight delay in getting things started for the women's medal games. One thing I guarantee is they won't start early. Maybe a few minutes late, just to allow the proper ice prep and practice times prior to the gold and bronze medal games. Both, of course, will be seen right here on Curling Canada Plus. Just looking to draw into the side of the house there, and routine draw. But as you get into the late stages of the game, I think you want to take advantage of these, learn something from the ice, and you never know, you may have to make a similar draw to win the game later in the game. This one's a little heavy, and go back to the fifth end, and Atina Forge Johnson was a little heavy with a draw that may have set up a deuce. Her first stone in the fifth, she was trying to come around a corner guard and went through the house. So she'll be wanting to, that'll be in her mind. I'm sure she wouldn't say no to another chance to throw a draw in the next end, just to get that draw weight firmly entrenched in her mind. So now it will be the blank attempt from Ontario. Susan Froud looking to put a couple zeros on the board and take last rock into the seventh end. Sweepers are on this. Kristen Turcotte trying to avoid the nose hit. Will that spill out? See, yes it does. So the blank for Team Ontario, the score remains 3-3. Ontario will have hammer when we come back for the seventh end after this. Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the late stages of these semifinals here at the Everest Canadian Senior Curling Championships. And we'll take a quick look at the other games in progress. The other women's semifinal has been broken wide open by Team Saskatchewan. Nancy Martin puts a 4 on the board in the fifth end. And they take a 6-1 lead over Team British Columbia, skipped by Diane Gushlak. 6-1 Saskatchewan in that other women's semi. In the men's semifinals, Nova Scotia, the first place team in the round robin, Paul Fleming's team, they are in a 5-5 tie with their buddies from New Brunswick. Grant Odeshaw's New Brunswick team stealing one in the fifth end, and it is a 5-5 tie. Nova Scotia has hammer in the sixth. In the other men's semifinal, that too is all Saskatchewan. Team Bruce Cordy from Saskatoon has stolen all of its 7 points, and they now lead Team Manitoba, skipped by Dave Bomer, 7-0. Steal of 2 in the first, 2 more in the third, 2 more in the fourth, and 1 in the fifth. And it is 7-0 Saskatchewan. So both Saskatchewan teams look like they're headed into the gold medal games here in Vernon. The last time there was one province sweeping both Canadian senior championships, the men's and the women's, just so happened that it was Saskatchewan. Just 4 years ago, 2019, it wasn't far from here in Chilliwack, British Columbia. Bruce Cordy and this exact same lineup captured the men's title, and Sherry Anderson's team from Saskatoon claimed the women's title. Of course, you could check out those scores, the line scores all the time here on curling.ca/scoreboard. And of course, all 4 of these sheets are being streamed live on Curling Canada Plus. So Alberta gets that center guard up, and now Ontario has their stone at the back of the forefoot. A little bit of a discussion here as to how Alberta wants to play this. They want to freeze? Do they want to be top house behind that center guard? Do they want to play the hit? Based on that ice, I think they are going to play the tap. Corey Morris. Neither team wanting to give the other any kind of an opening that you'd expect in a 3-3 game in the late stages of a Canadian Championship semifinal. It's by the guard. Now let's see if they can get the little roll inside. Very nice touch there by Corey Morris. It's behind the tee line, so as you would expect, Ontario is immediately going to try and see if they can draw one to the face of that stone that was just thrown by Corey Morris. That would be Julie McMullen's job to see if she can get around it with her intern, clockwise rotation. Weight looks good. Now it's all about line. And the line looks pretty tasty as well. What a shot, Julie McMullen. Frozen, covering the pin. Now Sherry Pickering. We'd love to get to the face of it. Maybe see if they can unlock those 2 stones. Would not be the end of the world for Alberta to give up one here. Carry last rock into the last end. Down by 1. And as we said, that is a scenario that faced them Thursday night against Ontario, and we saw what happened. Took one in the 8th, stole one in the 9th for the win. So that's the ambition here for Alberta. If obviously a steal would be great too, but forcing Ontario is a great outcome. That might just overcurl a bit. It does, but still is Ontario sitting shot, but surrounded by a couple of Alberta stones. But another chance here now for Ontario. Tristan Turcotte could freeze onto her own, and suddenly those yellow stones will be awfully hard to move out of scoring position. And the ice is going to bounce off. It will bounce off the Alberta stone. A little bit heavy maybe, but Does look like Ontario is sitting too. But Sherry Pickering could play a hit on that stone that was just thrown. Maybe even get the little inside roll. And the momentum certainly swings to Alberta's favor here. Sherry Pickering going to just get a little bit of inside curl. Shannon Morris trying to make that happen. And there it is. Beautiful shot. Still is Ontario in shot, but it's got blue all around it. A lot of stones yet to come here, so right now, advantage certainly Alberta in this seventh end. Kristen Turcotte, she'll try and remove that stone that was just thrown by Sherry Pickering and see if they can get the inside roll. Working hard to keep this online. We'll be by that guard, I think. No, it will just wreck. Tina Ford Johnson trying to bring that out. Don't want to leave any more Ontario stones in the house than they need to. I can tell you that there is now a final score to report in the men's semifinal. It is Saskatchewan, Team Bruce Cordy, 2019 Canadian champions. They post a 7-1 win over Manitoba, so it'll be Saskatchewan's Bruce Cordy playing for gold at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. Who he will play? TBD, either Nova Scotia or New Brunswick. Manitoba will go into the bronze medal game also at 12:30 Pacific. So Alberta's going to have a chat about this. Timeout was called. Ontario sitting shot on the button. Alberta sitting second, third, and fourth shot with the rock about to be thrown. So how do they make this situation even better, protect the situation, close any potential doors to Ontario scoring more than one? That is the nature of the conversation. They put up another guard. Do they draw one into that pile? I don't think they want to jiggle that pile too terribly much, though. It's a pretty good scenario here for Alberta. Of course, the discussion may be, is there a steal on the table? And that, just based on that Ontario stone, the yellow one, being frozen so tightly to the Alberta stone at the back of the button, that'll be a tough steal. Tell you in the other women's semi, Saskatchewan has stolen one more point in the sixth end. They take a 7-1 lead now over British Columbia. Team Nancy Martin. Part of the decision here for Alberta, they don't want to give Ontario any kind of a bailout shot, because we have seen that this Ontario team can throw the big weight when they need to. So Alberta's got to be very conscious of the angles that they leave Ontario. Shannon Morris now will be drawing into there. I don't think they want to be heavy with this at all. If you're going to miss, I think miss it light. Just close that path down. But you see where Atina is tapping with her broom as to where they want it. It's frozen into that pile. Sweepers look like they like the weight. You see it's going to finish nicely. Pretty much where Atina wanted it. That is a lonely, lonely Ontario stone. Now, that said, I do believe that if Susan Froud, it will be Carrie Lackey that's throwing, but if she throws with any kind of weight on the high side of that stone that was just thrown by Alberta, I think you're going to get a lot of movement of those Alberta stones. More than anything, Ontario now looking to just open things up here. See if they can get a path in there to get a second point. Neither of these teams in time trouble. You can see Ontario has more than 11 minutes left on the clock, so no need to take a timeout. So it doesn't look like they're going to throw any kind of big weight. It looked like hack weight was the discussion. Now they are going to call a timeout. You see Coach Al Corbale from behind the glass there at the home end indicating that he'd like to have a chat with the team about this. Quick update in the other men's semifinal. Paul Fleming making a wonderful shot through a tight port to get a couple. That gives Nova Scotia a 7-5 lead after 6 ends. Great shot there from the lanky skipper from Nova Scotia. They're still discussing what they like on the angles. Do they throw weight at it? Do they just try and jiggle things a little bit with some hack weight? Al Corbale now at that away end, and he will have a chat with the team. Al, of course, is Susan's husband. Longtime coach in Alberta, very in Ontario, pardon me, very highly respected. This team is extremely well coached. There's no question they have to move some blue rocks somehow, some way. Just those angles are not good for Ontario at all. But I also think that if you place some weight at that stone that Carrie Lackey is holding her broom next to, I think you move a bunch of the the Alberta stones out, and I don't think you lose your shot stone. And if nothing else, it'd be fun to see them try it just because of all the angles there. That's so much of this sport is knowing the angles, anticipating what a stone will do when it makes contact and where you make contact with it. This Ontario team looking for ways to get that second point, that all-important second point here with Hammer in the 7th end. Feel good about saying that I don't think a blank is on the table here for Ontario to carry Hammer to the 8th. Spent a long time discussing this, and I wonder too if maybe they're thinking that maybe we'll take our 1 and don't take a chance here. Because as I mentioned, you know, you could get a lot of those blues in action, but you could just as easily give Alberta a chance to remove that shot stone if you unlock things a little bit in the middle. Maybe they are going to play the guard here. And they're going to have another chat about it. Carrie Lackey not liking what she saw from the hack. And she'll come down and have another chat. They spent almost 3 minutes of their thinking time discussing this. Still over 9 minutes on the clock, so they're not in any kind of trouble. Now down under 9. So the draw appears to be the call, and they will bring it, I think, just frozen on top of the pile there. So it feels like they are thinking that let's protect our one now. So after a lengthy discussion, a timeout, Carrie Lackey will now throw her final stone in this 7th end. That's over curling a bit over what they were calling. I don't know if Alberta's got a chance to slash that stone that was just moved onto the yellow that's on the button. I don't think you'd be able to squeeze it between them. Now I suspect Alberta's going to take a little bit of time because the same kind of dilemmas are facing them as faced Ontario. The angles, anticipating those angles, what might Ontario try to score 2? I will tell you, it would be a tough deuce. Sorry, that was only Carrie Lackey's first rock of the. So we're still on 3rd rocks here. So this would be Shannon Morris's 2nd shot of this 7th end. So still 3 rocks for each team yet to come here. A lot could change over these final 6 deliveries in the 7th end. So now it looks like the call is to come around and protect something, protect that pile. Certainly it still is Ontario sitting shot, Alberta sitting 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th shot. It would take a stick of dynamite to remove that Ontario shot stone. The question is, can Ontario ever find a way to score 2 with hammer here in the 7th? So the outturn, looking for 8-foot weight here for Shannon Morris. Outturn counterclockwise rotation. Sweeping this for line, Corey Morris and Sherry Pickering. Looks to be by that guard. Is it a little on the light side, though? Essentially will get the job done, though. That is the path they were trying to protect. And now back to Ontario to look at those angles and look at those freezes and see what's possible. a scary scenario because Ontario trying to find a way to score 2 while protecting their 1. So how hard do you go for the 2? How much priority do you take in terms of protecting the single point? Because if you mess with those angles, you just don't know. Does it give Alberta any kind of a shot to remove that shot rock and potentially get a steal? And you just have a sense that this is a crucial end for both of these teams. Looks like another one will be called for Carrie Lackey to essentially follow the same path that she did on her first. That ended up in the 8-foot, splitting the center line. Sweeper's not touching this. They're going to try and get a little curl on it. A little bit heavy than they wanted. It would have been just through if it hadn't made that contact. And again, that kind of shakes up those angles. Now I think Alberta, I think they're going to concede that single point. I don't know that there's a way to remove it easily without taking a significant risk. So I think they're just going to put a rock up in front and take that path away on the in-turn side, the clockwise rotation from Ontario. We do have another final score to report. It is Saskatchewan, Team Nancy Martin from Saskatoon. And they have prevailed 7-2 over Team BC. So we do know half of that gold medal final will be Saskatchewan playing for gold. In fact, they'll play for double gold as their men's team won earlier today. Just remains to be seen who Saskatchewan will play in those gold medal games. Tina Ford Johnson with her first shot here in the 7th end. Just throwing up a guard. Very nice. Now, what does Ontario do? Looks like they're going to play some kind of a run back here. Or the chisel on the side, maybe. See what kind of weight that Susan Froud. They clearly had something in mind before they expected a team to make that guard. So maybe some kind of hack weight, or are they playing just a straight sideways bump here on that frozen Alberta stone that's frozen on the side of the shot rock? Nope, not playing much weight. Like they're just actually playing the corner guard. So that was the call. They'd want to take away any kind of path that would have been available to a Tina Ford Johnston on the out turn side. That will curl a long ways over, and I don't know if that accomplished anything. It's just hard to see that they could remove that Ontario stone at all. And the risk being that if you try to make a run at that Ontario stone that's sitting on the button, do you change up things sufficiently that would give Ontario a shot at 2? That's the decision process here for Alberta. And we talked about these teams having a lot of time. Yes, they still do have a lot of time, but the last 3 or 4 shots has really cut into their time bank. And we'll see. Is it Tina Ford Johnston now trying to play that little, just hit almost all she can see of that Alberta stone that's poking out the side. Now she's going to come back and talk about it. I think the problem with that shot is if she doesn't make it, there would be a side of the button available to Ontario. You want to miss it wide for sure. No, they're going to play the guard here, much the same as Ontario did. And then I just wonder if Ontario might just throw it through and not take a chance here. This is certainly being an end that is a little different than the first 6 for sure. All those rocks in play. All 7 Alberta stones in play right now, and it's about to be 8. We'll just play the guard, taking away any possibility that Ontario might have a shot for 2. That will get the job done. And Susan Froud being at the other end already, that gives it away that they're just going to throw it through here, I think. Yep, that is the throw through. So it's going to be a single point. All of that just for 1 point, but it is a big point for Ontario. They will take a lead into the last end. Players are kind of looking to see what might have happened, I think, if they had thrown something, but it will just be the single point for Ontario. So Alberta will have hammer down by 1 when we come back for the 8th end after this. Welcome back to the 2023 Everest Canadian Senior Curling Championships. And you know, this was the fastest game on the ice. They were almost an end ahead of everybody else, but now, as it turns out, this is going to be the last game on the ice. Alberta and Ontario. Ontario scoring 1 in that fascinating 7th end, and Alberta will have hammer coming home here in the 8th. The other men's semifinal now over. Nova Scotia team Paul Fleming stealing 2 in the 7th end, and they record a 9-5 win over team Grant Odishaw of New Brunswick. So it'll be Nova Scotia and Saskatchewan playing for gold. That game, that men's gold medal game, will take place at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. That will be a rematch of last night's round robin finale when when Nova Scotia beat Saskatchewan, finished first in the pool. That was an 8-4 win for Nova Scotia last night. Remember, of course, they scored 4 in the first end. Saskatchewan came back to tie it with a series of single points, and then Nova Scotia put it away with 3 in the 6th and a steal of 1 in the 7th. So another Nova Scotia-Saskatchewan battle for gold, and it'll be New Brunswick and Manitoba playing for bronze. Again, both those games at 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on Curling Canada Plus. In our game, it is a battle to see who will meet Saskatchewan's Team Nancy Martin in the gold medal game. The women's gold and bronze games taking place at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. As we said, it is Alberta down one with the hammer, and this was exactly the scenario Thursday night when these teams played in round robin play. Ontario had a 1-point lead in the last end. Katina Ford Johnson had to make a draw to the side of the button just to get one and force the extra, and then they stole the winning point in the extra. Corner guard is up for Alberta. That rock's going to come a little deep for Ontario. They do have two right on the button, but that's not a bad spot if you're Alberta. And they'll try and get one buried. Corey Morris played that corner guard. Now let's see what she can do with her second important shot to generate a potential game-winning deuce for Alberta. Shannon Morris, again, no relation to Corey. She will try and drag that in and get it buried a little more. It's about half buried. Good weight. Did not get the finish that they were hoping for. Now the hit attempt here for Kristen Turcotte. First six ends were pretty wide open. A couple of deuces on the board, but not a ton of rocks in play. And boy, the team sure made up for that in the seventh. And that will be on the guard, and that rock will have to be replaced. Free guard zone rule in effect, 5-rock rule. So there's a huge break for Alberta. Keep the corner guard, they keep their stone in the rings. I mean, they're going to have to deal with those yellow stones at some point. You can discuss strategy all you want, whether you need to get rid of them now, but of course, in an earlier end, you might say, well, let's keep playing around that corner if we want to score 3. You don't need 3 here. That's the difference. Just need 2. And Sherry Pickering will be asked to play a hit and roll. Remove one of those stones and roll frozen to the other one. Kind of like that. Very nice shot by Sherry Pickering. Still is Ontario's sitting shot. Now, have to be careful here. Susan Froud pushing those chips to the center of the ring, center of the poker table. She's going to put up the corner guard. Go hard for the steal here. Kristen Turcotte now. Just a really, really well-curled game by both of these teams, and glad that it's coming right down to the wire here in the 8th. Never say never. These teams have a history of going to extras. So we'll see it's in front of us over the next 5 to 10 minutes. Lovely guard there thrown by Kristen Turcotte. Alberta will remove it and try to hold the shooter and make it another corner guard for themselves. Sherry Pickering. Like to roll this over just a bit. Like to hold that though, but maybe just overswept a bit. And we'll see if Ontario tries to replace that corner guard. They will, the center guard, pardon me, and they will. Carrie Lackey now. Last game on the ice here on semifinal draw at the 2023 Everest Seniors. You wonder if that will have a small effect on the ice conditions. The only sheet in play right now, so teams will have to be aware of that. More bodies on the ice does change a little bit the ice conditions, but these teams have both been so good reading ice all game. I don't see why that will be an issue. Here's the guard thrown. Nice weight there by Kristen Turcotte. Now, straight back here, though, right on the nose, will leave Alberta sitting 3. So let's see if Shannon Morris can take that on. Straight on the nose, right back onto the blue. The raised stone goes out the back, and the stone that the Alberta stone is frozen to also leaves the rings. Big chance here for Alberta. That's looking like it's going to over curl. Be nice if that stays on the rings for Alberta. It will not, but it does unlock the 2 stones in the forefoot, so not a bad result there for Alberta. Does expose the Ontario stone. Now Ontario's going to have to be a little careful. Kerry Lackey's going to have to make this good. Looking to freeze to that Alberta stone that is biting the button. It is Alberta now with shot. Do they remove it? Do they freeze to it? Play a little hit and roll. They're going to talk about it. They do have time, so they don't need to call the timeout. Kerry Lackey is going to go down and chat with Susan Froud. Obviously, a big part of the discussion here is what to leave Alberta. Any kind of roll to the corner there, which is what they've been discussing, if it's exposed at all, it certainly seems to leave Alberta a double takeout to sit 2. And Ontario will use their second timeout. Now Corbell, team coach, and Susan's husband will come out and they'll talk things out here in this crucial 8th end. Alberta down by 1 with hammer. Winner goes to the gold medal game against Saskatchewan, loser to the bronze medal game against Team British Columbia. That was an important shot by Shannon Morris just now, in that, yes, it overcurled. She lost the shooter, but it was a good result in that it did unlock the frozen stone and left 2 Alberta counters in the rings. That was a nice result. We talk about the tolerance. That was a nice tolerance. I'm not sure they saw that. I sure didn't. But it ended up in a nice spot. Now, does Ontario play the hit? Looks like that is where the broom is down for, is a hit. And it's just a matter of where they leave the shooter. They can get it underneath those 2 Alberta stones. I think that would be a good result. The corner guard and the rock in the 8-foot. Trying not to leave a double takeout, though, for Alberta. That is a big part of this shot. That's a little... Now they're going to try and see if they can roll it maybe frozen to their own. And it goes right onto the nose. And that seems... Do they take on the double? Do they try and hit and roll frozen? Similar shot to what Shannon Morris threw on her first, and I think they're going to play just a hit and roll. I don't know that it's a steep double. It's not an easy double by any stretch of the imagination. So I believe they'll just try and play the hit and roll and get on top of that Ontario stone. Sorry, that was Sherry Pickering that played the shot like that on her second. Sweep is called now. Sherry Pickering, Corey Morris, now they called off. Did that roll too far? It will roll open. Will it stay in the house? It will. That is important that it stayed in the house for Alberta. Now, Ontario trying to find a way to not give up two here in this eighth end. They're sitting shot. But they're going to have to be very conscious of how they play this first skip stone for Susan Froud. Looks like the draw is going to be the call. See if they can get, I think, just about halfway behind that stone that is in the 8-foot for the Alberta and sit two and not, and this is the key, not give Alberta a shot at a double. Susan Froud with her first stone here in the eighth end of what's been a really, really good semifinal here at the 2023 Everest Canadian Seniors. Does it have the weight? Looks like it'll be corner frozen, but Alberta is sitting second shot, and I think that's the important part of that outcome. And now a chance, boy, if they can get that hit and roll behind the stagger, they'd be sitting two, and a big opportunity here for Alberta. Weight just came off at the last for Susan Froud. I think she was hoping to tuck a piece around that stone that it'd end up frozen to. And a big opportunity for Atina Ford Johnston to set up a winning deuce here. First shot here in the eighth end for Atina Ford Johnston. Trying to get across the face, roll it behind the corner. I don't think they'll get the roll here. That's not bad though. And now it's up to Ontario to see if they can get the roll. Or do they even think about nose hit on their own? Or do they look at the free or draw? A couple options. I wonder if they would ever think about a nose hit on their yellow frozen rock. Should remove that blue stone that's frozen to, and would it ever go straight onto the Alberta stone at the side 4-foot? But that will not be the call. It appears they will try and go all in for a draw. See if she can get a piece tucked around those frozen stones. Their own yellow frozen onto the Alberta stone. Alberta sitting two. Those are the 2 points they need for a win here, but we'll see if Susan Froud, essentially the same shot she threw the first, just needs 2 to 3 feet extra in weight. Certainly not in danger of wrecking. Now, does it have the weight? Now they're going to try and finish it here. Wow, what a shot by Susan Proud. Shot rock. About half buried. Just a super curling shot by Susan Proud. My goodness. Alberta calls its timeout. And Patina is going to ask how much can be seen from the hack by Corey Morris. Now, here's the thing. They don't have to stick with the shooter. There's the indication from Patina Ford Johnson. They just need to move it, let's say 4 feet. Ontario sitting shot, but Alberta sitting second and third. And you can see probably a thick third, skinny half from the hack. And without needing to hold the shooter. But boy, oh boy, that's a delicate shot considering what's at stake here as well. There's a big difference between throwing this shot in the third end and throwing it in the eighth end with a berth in the Canadian Championship final on the line. Can't say enough about how good that shot was from Susan Proud. She tried it on her first. As you see, it came up just a little bit light, made it on the second. But is there enough of a sliver showing for Patina Ford Johnston that she'll be able to move it far enough to score a pair here? Here we go. Sweepers are on it. Now they're called off. Corey Morris, Sherry Pickering. They have to get this to curl a little. Will it make contact? It will not. It will not, and it will be a steal of 1 for Ontario. What a game. And it will be Ontario against Saskatchewan for the Everest Canadian Senior Women's Gold Medal. A reminder, we'll be back on the way at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern with the men's gold medal and bronze medal games, and then back again here at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern with the women's gold medal games. So for now, this is Al Cameron saying so long from Vernon.